First up, Russia paying a heavy financial price for that intervention in Crimea this Monday.
Yeah, the escalating crisis in Ukraine has taken a heavy toll on global stocks. On Monday, Russian stocks in particular were hard hit, as you were just saying there, Laura. At the same time, the ruble fell to a record low against both the dollar and the euro. It took a nosedive even as the Russian central bank raised its interest rate unexpectedly to shore up the Russian economy. Looking back at those stocks, Russia's main stock market index, the MICEX, lost almost 11%. It means that Russian companies lost almost $60 billion of their market value in just one session. Now, Western companies also took a hit because of the Ukraine crisis, especially those with a high exposure to Russia, like Danish brewer Carlsberg and also the French bank Société Générale. And if we take a look at the latest figures from the European stock markets, you'll see there that the DAX in Frankfurt was the hardest hit among the main stock indices in Europe. It was the sharpest drop since 2012 for the DAX in Frankfurt. Also make note of the MICEX in Moscow, which we have added to this slide. It was down almost 10.8% in one session. Now, in the United States this hour, we're also seeing a sell-off on concerns over the geopolitical tensions in Ukraine. It comes even as the U.S. manufacturing activity picked up in February, according to the closely watched ISM index. Now, staying with the crisis in Ukraine, both European and American officials have hinted at possible sanctions against Russia. Earlier, I spoke to Lilith Gevorgian, a senior analyst at IHS Global Insight in London, about the prospect of that. And I asked her how vulnerable Russia would be.
I think it's going to give shock waves, both short-term and also medium-term. Short-term, we've already seen the ruble is taking hit, and also the companies that have exposure there, and include also Ukraine, they're suffering. The markets are not responding well at all to this military confrontation in Crimea. In the medium term, I would say that Russia's efforts to come across as an economy that is modernizing, is a WTO member that is attracting investment, all those efforts that have been put in and Sochi to showcase a new face of Russia, these are all dissipating really fast.
Are there any sectors in particular that are vulnerable in Russia? I'm thinking of the oil and gas sector, for instance, or the banking sector.
I think anything that has to do with the foreign capital and also trade will be affected, and definitely one of the sectors that we could look at is the energy and energy transport via Ukraine to European Union. The problem is that it's not just Russian exporters will suffer or producers, but also the European consumers, which is also problematic for European Union, once again highlighting the need for energy diversification. So far, nothing has happened as such, I have to say, though, but the risks are there, and if you have a potential military confrontation, then anything should not be discounted, including gas supply disruptions.
That was Lilith Gevorgian there speaking to me from London earlier. Let's take a look at a few other stories that we're following for you. Manufacturing in the 18 countries that use the euro slowed somewhat in February. Research firm Market says its closely watched Purchasing Managers Index for the manufacturing sector came in at 53.2. That's less than in January, but it is still above the 50 mark, which signals that the sector is indeed growing. We've also got some corporate news for you this Monday. Apple is making a play for car buyers. It's unveiled a new car infotainment system, partnering up with Mercedes, Volvo and Ferrari. Those car makers, they will be installing the system dubbed CarPlay in their new vehicles. It enables drivers to make phone calls, navigate, play music and send messages by using voice commands. The initiative was unveiled at the Geneva Motor Show, which starts this week, and it is seen as a play by Apple to try to perhaps counteract the lower sales in the smartphone sector that we have seen as of late, or at least slower growth in that sector, I should say. All right, that is the business news for now. I'm going to hand it back over to Laura for the rest of the headlines this evening.
Thanks very much indeed, Marcus. And we will have the headlines for you in a few moments. Before that, though, let's find out what's got people clicking, sharing and tweeting over the past 24 hours. It's time for Web News.